Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Budding Watch Enthusiast. So today's episode we are looking at a watch that I've had for 6 months now, my Squale 1545 root beer. Got this back in March, reviewed it back in March, and today we're going to talk about my updated impressions and my experiences with this watch and owning it for the past 6 months. Before we get into that, a quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Sal Baltimore limited edition. This is another watch that I've done 6-month updated impressions on, and I'll leave a link for that down in the description below and up top on a card here as well. But again, we're talking about the Squale 1545. This was a watch that I purchased because the root beer dial really captured my attention with this watch, really made it stand out above all of the different like heritage designs that Squale has, because they do like a black version and some other stuff like that. And again, it's a watch that I bought relatively early on in my collecting career, and it's a watch that I've had a very interesting relationship with so far in this 6 months that I've had it. I'm not going to do a big overview on the watch. If you guys would like to, go back and watch my full review, which again I'll link down in the description below for you, so you can get all of my initial impressions and get all of the details about this watch as well. But like I said, today we're going to be talking about my experiences with the watch after 6 months. So the standout feature for me for this watch, and I think I said this in the review as well, is the dial. The dial is what keeps me coming back to this watch over and over again. The sunburst effect on the dial is magnificent. When the sun catches it the right way, when the light hits it the right way, there's not a better looking watch in my collection, in my opinion. I don't know what it is about the sunburst effect that sets it above all others for some reason. Maybe it's the color, but the light really does radiate off of this watch and really does make it look unique and stand out in a way that I haven't seen in other dials that do have that sunburst effect. It is the standout feature of this watch, bar none, and the reason to buy this one over some of the other options in the 1545 line. Now that being said, because though of the root beer color, because it's got such a distinctly unique look, I have found it very difficult to accessorize with whatever outfit that I'm wearing that day. I'm someone, I've talked about in videos before, that likes to pair my watch with the outfit that I'm wearing. I like to match colors, or at least have colors that, you know, that complement it well. And for some reason, like every time I pick up this watch to wear it, I always feel like this little twinge of doubt in the back of my head of whether or not it's the right look for the outfit that I happen to be wearing. Mainly what I've done is I've paired it with a lot of earth tone colors, so a lot of reds, greens, browns, stuff like that. It's not, even though this is like a sports watch, it's not a watch that I've taken to pairing a lot with like t-shirts and casual clothes. For some reason, it just works better for me when I'm wearing like a button-down shirt, stuff like that. So and it's odd because, like I said, as a sports watch, as a dive watch, you would think that this is a watch that should go with more things, and that's why the root beer color is both a blessing and a curse. I mentioned when I did the review on this watch that I waffled between getting the root beer, the full root beer version, or the black version with the root beer bezel. And part of me almost wishes that I had taken the black version still. I know that when I did the review, I said that I definitely made the right choice going with the root beer. And from a unique look standpoint, I certainly did. There's no doubt in my mind that this watch, the root beer version, definitely has a unique, the more unique design, the more unique aesthetic to it. But that being said, I'd find that the black one would be a little bit easier to pair with more things. The difficulty to pair has also translated to different strap combinations as well. This watch came on a bracelet. The bracelet is a good bracelet. It's not out of this world, but and especially by comparison to like the Christopher Ward Trident bracelet that I have, it definitely is not on the same level, but it's a fine bracelet. But I haven't been wearing it that much on a bracelet. Part of the reason for that is because my wife, this is her favorite watch in my collection. She does like to steal it all the time, and so I don't feel like having to constantly remove and put the bracelet back on. That's no fun. So I've been wearing it mostly with straps. This vintage Bond style NATO strap is actually my favorite strap for this watch. It's the one that I find it on the most frequently. I think the colors complement the brown very well. My other favorite strap for this has actually been a brown leather, a Harween leather strap for this. And you know, I know divers on leather, some people don't like that, they think it's a faux pas, but I think because this is a heritage design, because it's supposed to be a classic dive watch look, I think that that helps it get away, especially on a leather strap that is much softer and not a typical like bulky leather strap. The Harween leather strap's of course very thin, and I think it just looks fantastic on this watch, and you guys are seeing images of it and you can judge that for yourself. Now, one of the big gripes I had with this watch when I reviewed it is the fact that the bezel action was terrible on this watch. It was incredibly difficult to turn and didn't have very good action, and which is funny because this is the Mark II version of this 1545 series, and one of the improvements they made over the Mark I's was an improved bezel action. I just wasn't seeing that, and I griped about that hardcore. I have to give credit to Trevor, one of the YouTube commenters who commented on the initial video recently, brought to my attention that the reason that the bezel action maybe wasn't so great was because there might be some gunk from the factory in the bezel. He recommended that I take some dental floss and kind of scrub it out. I did exactly that. It worked like a charm, actually. The bezel action is back to being, or not back to being, but is perfect now. So Trevor, thank you very much. And for those of you that have this watch, that might be noticing a little tightness on the bezel, yes, rub some dental floss in there, get that gunk out, and it'll turn like a dream after that, which you guys can hear and see now as well. It's still not the easiest bezel to grip, and I think that's more of a byproduct of the design of this style of bezel on a dive watch. Now, still a criticism of the bezel, it does still have a little bit of back play to it, which I'm not a huge fan of, and leads to some alignment issues. So again, if you have some OCD with the alignment on your bezel, then this one's not the best. It's not going to be a tight hold for the bezel like you would expect to find on a watch of this caliber. The Cyclops magnifier is a huge issue for me. Again, this is the first watch that I ever purchased that had a Cyclops on it. It will be the only watch that I ever purchased that has a Cyclops on it. I hate this feature. I know in the review I said I could take or leave it. Over the past 6 months, I've definitely found out that I can leave that feature 100%. It is completely unnecessary. It breaks up the rhythm of the dial for no great benefit in my estimation. Yeah, I hate the Cyclops. I will never buy another watch with a Cyclops on it again. Unless it's like a Rolex GMT Master 2. If I find a good deal on that, then maybe I'll make an exception for that. But yeah, for the most part, nope, no more Cyclopses. This is terrible. The other big disappointment with this watch for me has actually been the ETA movement. Now, nothing wrong with an ETA movement. There's a reason that they're the most used movement probably out there in terms of Swiss-made watches. But it's clear that this one wasn't really regulated too much outside of, falling within the regular tolerances. This watch has been performing anywhere between plus 13 to plus 17 seconds per day since I've owned it. That's a little disappointing. Again, still falls within the plus 20, minus 20 range that you would expect to see for a watch of this caliber. But it's hard to sit there and hold this movement against the movement that's in my Hamilton khaki field, for example. Still an ETA movement. The modification by Hamilton was just to put a bigger power reserve in it, but that movement performs plus 3 and has been ever since I got it like clockwork. The Christopher Ward watches that I own, both of them have either ETA or Sellita movements, which for all intents and purposes is an ETA movement. Now, to be fair, I haven't regulated this movement yet. It's something I've thought about doing, but I'd be curious to see once regulated if the timing tolerance would hold at a better rate. So that's the only thing, that's one thing that I'm waffling back and forth on doing. But yeah, the movement has been kind of a big disappointment for me. Definitely out of the multiple ETA watches or Sellita watches that I have in my collection, this by far has been the worst performing. So like I mentioned, my relationship with this watch changes by the month, it seems like. It's not a watch that I go to very often. I've actually considered selling this watch because it just doesn't get worn that much, to be quite frank. Just not as excited by it. But then every month or so, I'll see it in the watch box. I'll get the hankering to put it on. I'll wear it, and that day I'll go out and the sun will catch it just right, and I'll look down and be like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I own this watch. But then it kind of goes back in the watch box and doesn't make an appearance again for a while. Like I said, it's my wife's favorite watch that I own. She has stolen it pretty frequently, but I think that might be happening less now because she just got a new watch, which you guys will see in a video soon when I do an unboxing and overview for it. But yeah, she might not be going to this one as much anymore either. So yeah, I'm probably going to end up selling it. It just hasn't held the magic for me since I've gotten it. I did recommend the watch when I reviewed it. I would still recommend. It's still a good value watch. I mean, it's still a Swiss watch. It's still an ETA movement. It still has that classic heritage diver dial design that is very desirable still. Again, it's a great alternative if you want like the Rolex Submariner aesthetic, but don't have the money to spend on a Rolex Submariner. This is a very affordable alternative. If I could do it differently, it's not the problem with Squale watches. I think that I would actually opt to go towards the Squale 1521, a little bit more unique in its design, a little bit, it just looks cooler to me. I would hope that the movement would perform a little bit better in the 1521, being as it is a little bit more expensive. I would hope that it's adjusted in a way that's a little bit tighter with the tolerances. So yeah, the 1545 it hasn't held my interest for the past 6 months. This watch is probably going to end up being on the chopping block, and especially the thing, you know what really did it? The thing that really kind of put the nail in the coffin for this watch, for me personally, is when I got the Christopher Ward C65, because that is a dive watch that really captures the vintage aesthetic that it's going for, but it does it in a way that really is standoutish, really makes it look unique compared to its contemporaries. And yeah, once I got that watch, my interest in wearing the 1545 diminished drastically. So yeah, this one's probably gonna end up getting sold. Still a watch that, you know, there's still not a watch that looks quite like it in my collection. That's the only thing that's really keeping me from jettisoning it super quickly, but I don't think that's going to be enough to keep it around for long. I'm going to sell it while it still has a fair amount of warranty left on it for whoever ends up buying this watch. And yeah, and we'll put those funds towards something new that I might wear a little bit more frequently. So that is my 6-month review of the Squale 1545 Heritage Root Beer 20 Atmos. There's a lot of different names and titles that this watch has. If you guys own this watch, or if you guys have had experience, maybe not specifically with the Root Beer, but with any other of the watches in the 1545 line, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments down there below. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you found it entertaining or informative, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, like button. Let me know that you liked the video. Also, if you're new to the channel, do me an even bigger favor, hit the red subscribe button down below and ring the bell icon. That way you never miss when I post a new episode. And of course, if you're on Instagram, I ask you to follow me there as well. @BuddingWatchEnthusiast is where you can search, and follow me on Instagram there too. Thank you guys very much for watching this video, and I will talk to you all next time.